Sometimes I feel like giving up on this. Sometimes I hate movies. I hate that I love them so much and that I know everything about them. It's a mastery of a subject that has no practical usefulness. I've spent my entire life obsessing over film, and quite frankly, I've wasted away on account of it. Yet it's an art form that gives me the feeling of warmth, of happiness, and of permanence. Films give me a cultural identity. Many films have changed my life, but I have not changed any film. Films are static beings. They do not have lives of their own. There is no spike in the spiritual evolution of one. Films are about dead things. They are artifacts that speak to us with lies. I slave over my love for an art form that refuses to allow me to touch it because I know that there's life somewhere inside of every film I've ever seen, regardless of how much I know about them. They have heartbeats and bad times, just like me. They can feel me observing it, scrutinizing its wrinkles, and occasionally clamoring over their grandeur. Some films aren't static beings, some are dynamic becomings. Ingmar Bergman's Persona is dynamic becoming. Persona is about social memes and shared physical constructs. It's about a crisis. Persona is a film about symbols, about language, and how we use them to interact with each other, to give meaning to ourselves and our feelings. It's a film not about redemption or sacrifice, but about spiritual condemnation and erotic valediction. It's about saying farewell to a divided psychosis. Persona is a treatise on feminine rage and solitude. It's about the secret parts of a woman. It's about the most important part of her that no man has ever seen and no woman could ever heal. It's about scars, and it's about reaching out for companionship. It's about talking yourself mad. Persona is a film about losing your mind. It's about how mental tears get torn in the first place. It's about psychopathy. How does Bergman do it? He routinely reduces cultured film academics to tiny, gawking children, little more than stupefied mutes. Bergman transforms the scholar into the fool and morphs serious criticism into babbling nonsense and hyperbole. Ingmar Bergman's films are some of the most powerful things on the planet. Some have made a decent living out of exclusively analyzing and studying his films and his alone. But are they really so hard to crack? I certainly don't believe they are. Persona is a film of high quality, yet it is a film that visibly refuses to define itself, almost in a childish fashion. Bergman insists on cloaking his intentions behind a panorama of weightless, although admittedly inspired, images. While most films convey their most significant ideas through subtext, Persona is a reversal of that convention. Many scholars have been so absorbed with the imagery and clearly ostentatious surrealism of Persona that they forget to recognize the function of symbolic meanings. Persona highlights what should theoretically be downplayed. It is overt with symbols that would ordinarily be utilized in more subtle terms. All of the surrealism in Persona makes but a staged, frenzied surface to a much easier to decode narrative. We have gotten so used to uncovering subtext that we've grown too comfortable to the easily recognizable indicators of them. Bergman warped film language completely when he placed the symbolic devices of subtext in the areas where the main narrative would normally be, thereby making subtext nearly indistinguishable from narrative. And Bergman is lying with his images. He has the ability to create poetic meanings with them, but he also has the bizarre talent necessary to mislead viewers and imitate meanings with them. Most of the imagery in Persona is meaningless, but not without the impression of meaning. This is done formally and systemically throughout, illustrating the meaninglessness of a diseased mind. In order to make sense of these women, we must first agree that nothing should make sense, but everything should have power. It's a primal trickery that Bergman employs here, even as he consistently mirrors Hitchcockian sensibilities, hinting at another false meaning, this time with a stylistic resonance that plays on the viewer's own expectations of a never actually promised suspense. Persona is a film with an exquisite body. Its anatomy is duplicitous and erotic. How does he do it? By lying to you, with the false promise of meanings that are never actually fully available for you to interpret, which is why his films never clearly state an objective. This makes Bergman an extremely interesting artist of religious images in film. We unknowingly use symbolic interactionism to decipher his work. They were formed with only the impression of coherency. Yes, every image has power, even isolated meanings, but never a consistent definition or pattern-based language. To find meaning in Bergman, one must compound meaning itself. The end result of an analysis is never an absolute one. They are windows to the soul of the analyzer who has been forced by Bergman to reveal himself. Ingmar Bergman is not necessarily about subjectivity, it goes much deeper than that. What I'm talking about is dynamic becoming. I'm talking about personas. I'm talking about receiving an identity from a film based not on actual meanings but on believed ones. Bergman was a man of faith, and his films strongly reflect that aspect of him. Persona is a true treasure and a complete work of art.
My number 4 favorite film of all time.
Why? Because I have faith in it.